Cristiano Ronaldo's life is the biggest roller coaster in football history. Not just because of the trophies, not just because of the records, but because of the pain, the losses, the moments where everything could have ended before it ever truly began. When people see Ronaldo today, they see perfection. They see the body, the confidence, the goals, the fame. But they don't see the road that led there. They don't see the nights with no food. They don't see the tears. They don't see the sacrifices that were made long before the world ever learned his name. Cristiano Ronaldo was born on the 5th of February 1985 in Lisbon, Portugal. He didn't come into wealth. He didn't come into comfort. He was born into survival. His parents were extremely poor. So poor that sometimes food wasn't guaranteed. So poor that comfort was a luxury they never knew. His father, José Diniz Aveiro, worked as a kitman for a small local football club. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't well paid, but it kept the family just barely afloat. His mother, Maria Dolores, did whatever she could to make ends meet. She worked hard, stretched every coin, and still, it was never enough. They lived in a one-room apartment, one room. Ronaldo, his parents, and his older siblings all sharing the same space. No privacy, no comfort, just family, survival, and hope. There were times when there was no food to eat, times when hunger was normal, times when struggle was the only thing they knew. Life was tough, really tough. But even in that hardship, something was growing. Something that would eventually change everything. Ronaldo found an escape. Football. Before he even fully understood the world around him, football became his way out. As soon as he could walk, he could kick a ball. And once he started, he never stopped. The streets became his training ground. Broken pavement, tight spaces, endless hours. Every single day, Ronaldo was out there, playing, practicing, imagining something bigger. While other kids went home, Ronaldo stayed. While others rested, Ronaldo trained. While others dreamed, Ronaldo worked. He didn't know it yet, but football wasn't just a game to him. It was his escape plan, his way out of poverty, his way to save his family. And then one day, everything changed. A local scout came to watch him play. At the time, Sporting Lisbon was searching for young talent. They wanted a few gifted kids to join their academy. Very few would be chosen. Out of hundreds of hopefuls, Ronaldo was selected as one of the few invited for trials. But nothing was guaranteed yet. There was one final test, one final game, and this game would change his life forever. Before kickoff, the scout gathered the kids together. He delivered a message that instantly raised the stakes. Whoever scores the most goals, that's the one we pick. The moment Ronaldo heard that, something switched inside him. He locked in. The game began. Ronaldo scored. But another boy on his team, Albert Fanthe, had already scored 2 goals. Time was running out. Ronaldo was behind. Then, in the final moments of the match, it happened. Ronaldo and Albert both broke through on goal. Just the goalkeeper left to beat. Albert went around the keeper. The net was empty. The easy option was to shoot. But instead, he passed the ball. He passed it to Ronaldo. Ronaldo scored. That single decision changed everything. Ronaldo got the contract. He was in. Now he was at Sporting Lisbon. Now it was time. Time to show the world what he could do. At first, things weren't easy. But once he scored his first goals for the senior team, Ronaldo never looked back. His talent was undeniable. His speed, his confidence, his skill, it all stood out. Clubs started watching. Big clubs. But then came the moment that truly changed his destiny. Sporting Lisbon versus Manchester United. A friendly match. But there was nothing friendly about Ronaldo's performance. That night he put on a masterclass. He destroyed defenders, toyed with them, left them confused. By the end of the match, the entire Manchester United squad knew something special had just happened. Sir Alex Ferguson had seen enough. He picked up the phone, called Ronaldo's agent, struck a deal. Days later, Ronaldo was heading to England. Manchester United signed him for $19 million. A teenager, from the streets to the biggest stage. On Jersey Day, Ronaldo expected the number 28 shirt. But Sir Alex said no. He gave him the club's most iconic number, number 7, the birth of CR7. But the beginning wasn't smooth. Ronaldo struggled. He took time to adapt. Some teammates criticized him. They said he dribbled too much, that he held on to the ball, that he was just a flashy kid. But Ronaldo didn't care, because for him, this was already a victory. He could finally take his family off the streets, give them a home, give them safety. He had made it, or so it seemed, because just when life started to look brighter, everything collapsed. One phone call changed everything. His father was sick. José Dini had been struggling for years. The weight of not being able to provide had crushed him. He turned to alcohol, and now his liver was failing. Ronaldo rushed home, asked permission to leave the club. When he reached the hospital, he made a promise. He would do everything to save his dad, but it was already too late. Days later, his father died. Ronaldo was shattered, broken, lost. But something else was born in that moment. An elite mentality. Ronaldo realized something painful. All he had left was his mother and his siblings. They were everything now. And he made a promise. He would become the best player in the world, not for fame, not for money, but to see them happy. 2 years later, he fulfilled that promise. The 2008 season was legendary. 31 league goals, Champions League top scorer, Champions League winner. Months later, Ronaldo was crowned the best footballer on the planet, and his journey was just beginning. He was standing on top of the football world now, but what made that moment even heavier was knowing where he came from. From a one-room apartment, from nights with nothing to eat, from a father who never got to see how far his son would go. And yet, even as he lifted trophies, Ronaldo still carried that pain with him. It never left. It became fuel. Around this time, he achieved something else that made his family incredibly proud. Back in 2004, Ronaldo had played in the European Championship on home soil. Portugal made it all the way to the final. The country believed. The dream felt real. But then Greece happened. Portugal lost. At home. In the final. Ronaldo cried on the pitch that night. A young kid, devastated, feeling like he had let his country down. But instead of breaking him, that moment changed him. Something clicked. From that point on, Ronaldo kicked into another gear for the national team. He trained harder, played with more responsibility, more hunger. By 2008, he wasn't just a star anymore. He was a leader. That year, Ronaldo was named captain of the Portuguese national team. The kid who once shared a single room with his entire family was now leading a nation. But club football was still calling. In 2009, after losing a Champions League final, Ronaldo knew something deep inside him. It was time for the next step, time for the biggest challenge of his life. That summer, he broke the world record. Cristiano Ronaldo became the most expensive footballer on the planet. Real Madrid. This wasn't just a transfer. This was a statement. He had reached the very top of club football. At Madrid, everything felt larger. The stadium, the pressure, the expectations. And Ronaldo embraced all of it. He couldn't stop winning. Goals kept coming, records kept falling. And off the pitch, his life changed too. Months after the move, Ronaldo experienced another massive moment, one that had nothing to do with football. His son, Cristiano Jr., was born. Ronaldo chose to keep the identity of Junior's mother private. That decision was personal, protective. But one thing was clear. He was ready to be a father, ready to build a family, ready to create a legacy beyond football. But first, he had unfinished business at Real Madrid. Before Ronaldo arrived, the club hadn't won the Champions League since 2002. 7 long years. He was brought in to change that, to be the man. And for years, it just didn't happen. Even though Ronaldo won the Ballon d'Or in 2013, the Champions League kept slipping away. Near misses, heartbreaks, until one season changed everything. 2013, 2014. That was the year Ronaldo decided he was done waiting. He wasn't playing games anymore. That season, he was unstoppable. 16 goals in one Champions League campaign. A record. He scored in the final. In his home country, Portugal. Real Madrid lifted the trophy, La Decima. And Ronaldo added another Ballon d'Or to his collection. Now he was closing in on his biggest rival. Lionel Messi. Spain became the battlefield. 2 giants, 2 different styles, 1 era. But while Ronaldo dominated at club level, international success still escaped him. The World Cup in 2010 ended early. Group stage exit. Euro 2012 ended in the semi-finals. The 2014 World Cup, another group stage exit. Critics were loud. They said he couldn't do it for his country, that he wasn't a real leader. Ronaldo heard all of it, and he remembered Greece. The tears, the pain. He knew his moment had to come. Euro 2016. Portugal entered the tournament with little expectation. They weren't favorites, not even close. But somehow, they kept surviving. Drawing games, grinding results. Ronaldo scored 4 goals, dragged his team forward, and then came the final. Portugal versus France. In France. The biggest stage. And then, heartbreak. Ronaldo went down injured. Tears again. He couldn't continue. He was subbed off. For a moment, it felt cruel. Like fate was mocking him. But this time, something was different. Instead of collapsing, Ronaldo became a coach on the sidelines. Shouting, encouraging, leading. And then it happened. Portugal scored. They held on. 1-0. Portugal were champions of Europe. The boy from Madeira had led his country to its first major trophy ever. History was made. After that, the records kept coming. Another Ballon d'Or. 3 more Champions League titles. But time waits for no one. By the end of 2018, Ronaldo was 33 years old. Over 450 goals for Real Madrid. And once again, he felt it. That pull. That need for something new. So he made another bold decision. He left Madrid and joined Juventus. The old lady. The goal was clear. Win the Champions League again. But this time, it didn't work. 3 seasons. 3 disappointments. Knocked out in the round of 16. Then the quarterfinals. The dream faded. By the end of 2021, Ronaldo wanted out. And there was only one place that felt right. Home. Manchester United. His return almost broke the internet. Fans went wild. On opening day, Ronaldo scored twice against Newcastle. It felt like magic again. Like the old days. But it didn't last. Everything started falling apart. Then came 2022. Another heartbreak. The worst of his life, according to Ronaldo himself. His newborn son with his partner Georgina Rodriguez passed away. Pain beyond football. Pain beyond words. On the pitch, things weren't better. United struggled. A new manager arrived, Erik ten Hag. They clashed. Trust broke down. And then came the interview, the most controversial of his career. Ronaldo spoke his truth, called everyone out. Manchester United terminated his contract. But Ronaldo wasn't focused on that anymore, because one last dream remained, one last dance. At 37 years old, he knew the World Cup in Qatar might be his final chance, his final shot at glory. He gave everything. But once again, it wasn't meant to be. Portugal were knocked out in the quarterfinals. Silence, and then acceptance. Ronaldo turned back to club football, and once again shocked the world. In early 2023, he signed with Al Nassr, a deal worth $200 million a year. From the streets of Portugal to a life where he could afford his own island. Cristiano Ronaldo made it. He survived poverty, loss, criticism, heartbreak, and through it all, he never stopped chasing greatness. Because for Ronaldo, this was never just football. It was survival. It was legacy. It was destiny. And when people look at that number, now $200 million a year, they think the story ends there. They think money is the ending. But for Ronaldo, money was never the goal. It was proof. Proof that the kid from nothing had beaten the odds. Because if you really sit with his story, you start to realize something strange. Almost every time Ronaldo reached a high point, life hit him back harder. When he finally escaped poverty, he lost his father. When he became the best player in the world, his country doubted him. When he returned home to Manchester, he lost his son. And yet, every single time, he came back stronger. That's not luck, that's mentality. Ronaldo once said that talent without hard work is nothing. And when you look at his life, you understand why he believes that. He never had safety. He never had comfort. From a very young age, Ronaldo learned that if he didn't push himself, nobody else would do it for him. As a kid, when his teammates would go home, he stayed. When they were tired, he ran. When they were satisfied, he was angry. There are stories from his early Manchester United days where teammates would go out for food after training, and Ronaldo would go back to the gym. Not because anyone forced him, but because he was scared. Scared of going back to where he came from. That fear stayed with him, even when he was rich, even when he was famous, even when he had won everything. That fear became discipline. People often mistake Ronaldo's confidence for arrogance. But confidence doesn't come from nothing. Confidence comes from knowing how much work you've done when nobody was watching. Ronaldo knew. He knew the mornings he woke up sore, the nights he trained alone, the moments he cried in silence at night. That's why he never doubted himself. And that's also why losing hurt him so deeply. Because Ronaldo doesn't lose quietly. When Portugal crashed out of tournaments early, he felt it personally. Not as a player, as a man. He carried the weight of an entire country on his shoulders, a country that hadn't won anything major before him. And when Euro 2016 finally happened, when Portugal lifted that trophy, it wasn't just a football moment. It was redemption. Not just for the final he lost in 2004, but for every tear, every criticism, every doubt. You could see it in his eyes that night. Relief. Like something heavy had finally been lifted. But Ronaldo never allows himself to stay comfortable for long. Even after winning everything at Real Madrid, even after becoming one of the greatest of all time, he still needed new mountains. That's why Juventus made sense to him. He wanted to prove that it wasn't just Madrid, that it wasn't just the system, that it was him. And even though the Champions League didn't come, Ronaldo still delivered. Goals, moments, leadership. But football is a team game. And sometimes, even greatness isn't enough. When his return to Manchester United didn't work, many people thought that was the end, that he had fallen off. That age had finally caught him. But Ronaldo has never cared about opinions. At 37, when most players are retired or forgotten, he went to a league people laughed at, a move people mocked. And he did what he has always done. He showed up. Goals, attention, impact. Not because he needed validation, but because competing is who he is. Football gave Ronaldo a way out. But discipline kept him there. And when you zoom out and look at the full picture, his life doesn't feel random. It feels shaped. Like every hardship added a layer. Like every loss sharpened him. The death of his father taught him responsibility. The loss of finals taught him patience. The loss of his son taught him perspective. Because after that tragedy, something changed. You could see it. Ronaldo became quieter, more reflective. Football was still important. But family became everything. And maybe that's the final lesson of his story. That success doesn't erase pain. It just teaches you how to carry it. Cristiano Ronaldo didn't become great because everything went right. He became great because so much went wrong, and he refused to stop. From a one-room apartment to the biggest stadiums in the world, from hunger to history, from tears to trophies. His life isn't just a football story. It's proof that where you start does not decide where you end. And when you reach the end of Cristiano Ronaldo's story, you realize something powerful. This was never about goals. It was never about trophies. It was never even about being called the greatest. Those were just side effects. At its core, Ronaldo's life is about refusal. Refusal to accept the limits he was born into. Refusal to let pain decide his future. Refusal to stop when the world told him it was over. Every time life tried to slow him down, he responded with obsession. Every time he was doubted, he responded with work. Every time he was broken, he rebuilt himself stronger. Think about it. A kid with no money, no space, no certainty. A father struggling with his own demons. A family surviving day to day. Most people would have folded under that weight. Ronaldo didn't. He used it. He turned hunger into drive, loss into focus, pain into fuel. And even when he reached the very top, he never forgot where he came from. That fear of going back never left him. That's why he trained like someone with nothing to lose. Because deep down, Ronaldo was always still that kid from the streets. Chasing a ball, chasing a way out. And maybe that's why his story resonates so deeply with so many people around the world. Because not everyone can be the best footballer in history. But everyone knows what it feels like to struggle, to lose, to feel like the odds are stacked against them. Ronaldo shows what's possible when you don't quit. Not when it's easy, but when it hurts. He shows that greatness isn't about perfection. It's about persistence, about showing up on the days you don't want to, about believing when nobody else does, about carrying pain quietly and still moving forward. In the end, Cristiano Ronaldo didn't just make it out. He changed the definition of what making it looks like. And long after the goals fade, long after the records fall, his real legacy will remain. A reminder that no matter where you start, no matter how many times you fall, you can rise if you're willing to work, if you're willing to suffer, if you're willing to never stop believing. That is Cristiano Ronaldo. Not just a footballer, a survivor,